What is the secret to success?
Self-discipline is everything.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
The only way to do great work is to love what you do.
What are you going to do?
All right, welcome everybody to the very first episode of the Trainade Performance Podcast. I am your host, Jordan Sullivan, and I will be taking you through this series where we will be talking to high performers in sport, business, and life to find out what it is that they do every single day to make sure that they are the best at what they do. Now, today for our very first episode, we are joined by a very special guest, none other than Jamie the Hooligan Mullarkey. For those of you who do not know, Jamie is a professional mixed martial artist who is currently signed to the biggest MMA promotion in the world, the UFC. Jamie is also fresh off a massive first round TKO victory at UFC 260 last weekend in Las Vegas. And in this episode, Jamie and I are going to deep dive in what motivated him to start fighting, what motivated him to keep going for all those years before getting signed. We're going to talk about the lessons that fighting has taught him, what it was like making his UFC debut in front of the biggest live audience in UFC history. And we're going to finish off the episode with Jamie's top tips for young fighters who are trying to crack the big leagues. There's so much good information in this episode, so let's get right to it. All right, we are recording, which means we are live for the very first episode of the Trainade Performance Podcast. Now, today, we've got a very special guest. We've got Mr. Jamie the Hooligan Mullarkey, fresh off his first round TKO victory over in Las Vegas. Jamie, thanks for coming on, my man.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, mate.
Yeah, first episode, mate. We were just saying off air there that this was a bit of a sporadic decision to start recording. I've actually wanted to do like a Trainade podcast for a long time. And then I thought I was just sitting here the other day in quarantine and thought, you know what better time to do it than right now. Ordered a microphone, came within 24 hours, and then another 12 hours later, we got the first episode going. So here we are.
No, it's sick. Sick idea. There's got nothing better to do, man.
Yeah, that's it. Now you're in hotel quarantine, as am I. How are you finding it? You're across town to where I am, but how are you holding up in quarantine?
Yeah, man, it's all right. It's fucking can be rough, but found the first few days went pretty quick, and then now they're sort of stretching out just a little bit more every day. It's just like
it is what it is. That's like what everyone says, but man, it is. It's like we were saying off air. Then it can play games with your mind if you don't keep yourself busy. Hey, like because it's just I don't think anyone like really appreciates. You think about your day and what you do. Even if you work in an office 9 to 5, you go out for your lunch break. You go out for like morning tea. You're on like to and from work. You go to a bus and like. You take that for granted, being able to go outside, get fresh air, move around and just do what you want to do. And then like you're stuck in a room. Like you guys got a pretty good room. I reckon my room is probably the size of half of my living room back home. And it's just like you can walk around the whole thing in maybe like 5 steps, 5 to 6 steps. No, and we don't have a window that cracks here. So it's like, it's crazy, man, like how it could play like mind games with you if you're not keeping yourself busy.
Yeah, that's harsh, bro. You got no fresh air in your room?
Yeah, no window. See if I can get a video of it. At least in the last one that I had, like the window cracked just a little bit, so you could get like a little bit of that fresh air. But yeah, we got nothing now. But hey, it is what it is, like you said.
Yeah, it's making like fighting just that bit more challenging, eh? Like more obstacles, more things that you have to go through. Because like I was talking to the boys, and it kind of kills your buzz as well. Like I'm coming off like a first round knockout, feeling buzzed, and like that first week after your fight, that's when you want to like just enjoy it, because we got to get back to training. Like this 2-week hotel quarantine kind of kills that buzz. It's is what it is, I guess. But
is that something you think about when you're taking fights now? Because this is your second time you've had to do it. You did it in Fight Island last year, and then you come back into the 2 weeks, and this is the second time you've gone through it. I guess like you don't really have an option, but does it go through your head where you're just like, man, shit, I've got to do this quarantine again. I've got to like, I wish blah, blah, blah. What's your thought process when a fight comes up, knowing all of this is got to happen afterwards?
Yeah, well, like you said, it's only my second time. So I think next time I'm going to be dreading it a little bit more again, because it's like it's still sort of new, but yes and no. Like, you do think about it, but you think about fighting first. You get offered a fight, and you still get those little like little bit of buzz when you get offered a fight, and so you obviously take it. But yeah, now it kind of more hits you when you are doing your quarantine. I think when you're actually doing it, you're like, fuck. But I think now, like, while I'm in there, I'm going, yeah, next time I'm going to be dreading this that little bit more. And it makes it hard. Like, for me, it's not just myself doing it, it's my coach. Like, I'm taking him away from his family and his life for 4 weeks for my benefit. Like it's our benefit too. He wants me to win. He wants me to, and we did. So, like, fucking thank God. But it's like, yeah, it's more for me having to drag someone else through this. It just makes it more challenging, man. Makes it a lot more challenging than just leaving your country, leaving home for 10 days, fighting, coming back. That's a piece of piss. But this whole process is it makes it a lot harder. And for me, it's like, if I was doing it by myself, that's a bit better. But I'm actually making someone else do it with me, so it's just one of those things, eh?
Yeah, that's a good point too. It's crazy too, and people don't appreciate that. Is like when people go away for UFC fights, like, you guys take a corner. Like, man, like we roll pretty deep. Like, when we go away, like, I'm the dietitian. I somehow managed to get in on it, but like, people take a whole team away. But now that there's this whole COVID situation, you got to get a governor general pass to leave the country. You got to get all these weird approvals and everything else. So it's like, even for you guys taking corners, which are your coaches, which are, guiding you through this whole process, guys that you've been with for years, sometimes it's just not plausible. Like, I remember you and I were talking about, like, it just wasn't
That's
plausible
what I'm saying.
for Ross to come
Yeah.
and back you. And Ross has been your coach. So it's like, it's a strange dynamic for you guys. Like, yeah, you want to go over and fight, but you want to keep it as normal as possible, get all your team around. But because of COVID and everything, that's just not possible.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. It's like, it's making it like harder to continue to fight, because I can't even keep expecting, like you said, Ross, he's running a business back home. He's got a gym that he's got to run. So, like, how can I keep every time I fight go, all right, me and Ross are going for another 4 weeks? He can't physically afford to do that. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm gonna be like, my plan moving forward, I think, is just getting who I can, like, to come with me, who's available, who's willing to do the whole process.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, bro, because you think about your situation too. Like, man, I don't know, did you even cop a punch? Did you cop a shot in that last fight? And like, maybe like a couple, if the UFC turns around and goes, hey man, like, we got a fight for you in 4 weeks time, you could stay fit and you could keep your weight good and you could probably turn around fast and do it. But then it's like, oh man, can I actually do it? Because can I get a whole team? I've got to go home. I've got to do 2-week quarantine, and then I've got to find a coach to come with me and go back. It's just like, it stops that possibility as well.
Yeah, no, it does. It makes it a little bit harder, man. Because, yeah, exactly what you're saying. I'd be down, but it's, can I get someone else to do that again? Because it's a massive ordeal, man.
But anyway, Jamie, let's go on to talk about that fight. First win in the UFC octagon, and like, far out, that was like classic hooligan, right? Talk us through it. What was going through your head going in that fight? You released that footage of you and Ross drilling that same sequence where you fake the 2 and come back with the 3 and come through. Talk us through that fight. What was going through your head, like getting in the prep? What was going through? Was it like do or die for you? Talk us through what was going through your head.
Yeah, it was a really good camp. I went down and trained with freestyle fighting gym down with Alex Volkanovski. So we trained together for the fight. I think it was about 7 or 8 weeks down there, and their workload, Geordie. It's a heavy workload, so it was definitely physically is the best I've felt going into a fight. So that brought me a lot of confidence going in, and yeah, the whole build up, like, we knew this was a pretty much a do or die fight. Just going off my last 2 fights, I didn't have bad fights, but I just come up the short end of a decision. So it put me in a pretty like pressuresome situation, and I felt the pressure leading up. But it was weird. Like the closer the fight got on fight week, I was getting like more and more confident. Just I don't know what it was. It was like just the closer it was getting, the better I was feeling, the more comfortable I was feeling being there. And by the time fight night came, I was just ready to go, man. So when I got in there, I expected it to go longer than it did. Obviously, most people don't expect their fights to be a knockout finish in under a minute, but the game plan was to start hard on this guy, get him biting on my shots, because we knew that he was like a really hard counter striker, and he's fast, man. He's been around a long time, so I thought it was going to go a little further, and me just being able to mix it up on this guy was going to get me the win, and probably a finish would open up. I wasn't sure what it was going to be, but I thought that a finish would present itself maybe like round 2. I don't know. I just didn't think it was going to be that quick, but yeah, it just came out real good, man. But like just felt fast, felt agile, felt like very comfortable in there, like I said. So couldn't ask for a better result, really.
Yeah, for sure. You talk about the confidence and how you got more and more confident as time went on. You got closer to the fight. Why is that? If you hang around fighters long enough, you notice all you guys like that. You guys have this supreme confidence and this aura about you guys. Was that always the case with you? Have you always been like that? Or is that something that's like developed as your career's gone on? Or what's going on?
Well, every fighter, exactly like you say, will tell you I think the biggest thing that a fighter has to have, he feeds himself well, he trains hard, he ticks all the boxes. But the number one thing, in my opinion, is he has to believe. He has to believe in himself, because up here, that's where it all starts. That's where it all comes from. And if you could have the best camp in the world, feel the best you've ever felt, but if you walk into that cage and you've got this little bit of doubt, we all get that little bit of doubt, but you got to shut that shit off. You got to go, no, like I'm going to win this fight. So in my opinion, that's the biggest thing. And for me, what gives that to me the most is the people I'm around. For instance, like my coaches, Noah Magnus and Ross Pearson, coming over with you guys, like having you in my corner, all these little, because at this level, you have to have every single thing, like all these little, what am I trying to say? Like all these little 1%. So all these little things at this level are going to make the biggest difference. And for me on fight week, especially, that was the biggest thing for me, just giving me so much confidence, just the people that were around me and knowing that I was doing everything right. And I know I've got what it takes to get the job done. So that was probably it for me.
Yeah, me and Volker had an interesting convo when we were away and talking about how he became the person that he is. And anyone that knows Volk is like he's a real leader, right? Like he thrives in difficult and challenging situations, always steps up to the mark. And same with all you guys, right? Like you thrive in adversity and you overcome it. But we're talking about, there's no real set time or set event that's really like molded or shaped this specifically. It's just a bunch of little events over years and years and years that have made him the person he is. Let's wind it back and let's go back to the early days and let's unfold it. Like, how did we get to the Jamie Mullarkey that we had today? Talk us through when you started fighting. Like, how did you come across? Were you playing other sports and then say you got an injury and then you went into pancreation or whatever it is you started on? How did it all start on this journey?
Yeah, no, I was playing rugby union when I was like 13, and I was always getting heaps unfit in the off season of rugby. So I wanted something to do to keep fit. That was literally it. That was why I started mixed martial arts. I didn't want to become a fighter. I didn't want to and funnily enough, I just got good at it and got stuck in the sport. Like that's literally how it happened. Because I was always pretty coordinated, pretty like handy at most sports that I've done. I love sports. I was always sporty, but I never had like a work ethic either. I never wanted to fucking do sprints. I never like if it was a hard training session, I might have a sore leg that day. You know what I mean? But then that's like the beautiful thing that fighting gave me. It made me want to work harder because it's so demanding, man. So yeah, I in the off season of rugby, I was watching The Ultimate Fighter. I was like, this shit's fucking cool. I want to go try it out. And then I threw a kid in an armbar in my second session. Like we were having a wrestle in front of the whole class. And I just learned how to do an armbar, threw him in an armbar from the mount and was like, this is sick. Like I never went back to footy. So, and then like about a year later, I got offered my first fight. Noah's just came up to me and just said, hey, you want to fight in 4 weeks in the cage, amateur rules? And I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. So that's where it all started. And then just as time went on, just become more and more in love with it, got better.
How old were you? How old were you when this was all starting off, when you made that swap from footy over to fighting?
14.
14?
Yeah. So, and I was one of the ones that didn't start with like most fighters have a start in martial art, you know what I mean? Like started in boxing, started in wrestling. I just went straight into mixed martial arts. Jason Siebert was my first ever trainer. And he was just running like a youth fight fit program with like young kids. And that's where I started, and then met Noah through Jason and took off from there.
You're a 14-year-old kid. You're doing what we all do off-season footy, eating crap, not training, partying, doing whatever. And you go, okay, I need to get this in under wraps. You start training, and then you start training. Is it at 14 and then 4 weeks later you have your first fight? So you're what, 14, 15 when you had your first fight?
Yeah, I was 15. So I'd been training for like a year and then just got offered a fight. So yeah, that's where it came up.
Yeah, talk us through that. What was that like going through your head? Like, was it something that you were like, okay, I know this is what I want to do? Or is it just, shit, we'll just give it a go and see what happens?
Yeah, no, I was shit scared, man. I was fucking scared out of my life. I said yeah, and I was pumped. And then I remember walking out and I was like, there's this clip that I used to watch from Mike Tyson, and he said that he was actually, because Mike Tyson's such a loose unit, he was thinking about running down the stairs out of the stadium and getting a train home, and just he was thinking about doing that. And I was seriously thinking when I heard my opponent's music come on, my opponent was walking out, and I was like, oh, fuck, I really don't want to do this. I was so scared, man. But then that's one of the things. That's it. The best thing about fighting, you overcome that fear. You overcome that fear, and you get in there and you fucking do it. Like you surprise yourself. I still surprise myself. I go, fuck, like you can do more than what you think.
Yeah, man, yeah. Because that's something I wanted to go into is, how did this get easier, or did it get easier as you kept going and kept racking in the amateur fights and then eventually made you pro? Did it get easier to go in there, or were you always thinking that same mindset, like, man, this is scary as shit, like I could go get hurt? Or what goes through your mind?
For sure it gets easier because that experience and the confidence is key. So when you're winning fights and you get more confident, you're like, no, I can do this. So it gets easier and more comfortable for sure. Maybe not everyone's like that. Like maybe other people are just fucking heaps more savage. I don't know, but that's how I was. I was like, scared out of my life. And I think most people will be lying if they say that they're not scared going in for their first cage fight. You need that fear as well to wake yourself up. Like, your nerves are good, man. I think that even at this level, the nerves are good. It's just how you control it.
What influence did doing this have on you coming up as like a 15-year-old kid? Whereas most 15-year-old kids are out shit kicking, partying, doing whatever and everything else. What influence did fighting have when you were growing up, going through that period of your life?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because like that's what it did for me. Because I said to you before, I was never like a standout in any sport. So I was always like pretty okay. Like played soccer, basketball, cricket, footy, and then with fighting, I was good at it. So I got like so fucking dedicated to it that at that age I was like not really going out partying and doing what most kids are doing. I was more just training like all the time. I was just obsessed with it because I was pretty good at it, and I thought I was a little badass too. Like being that age, showing my mates my knockout on the weekend is like you think you're a little mad dog. So that kept me motivated to just give it my all and train hard because I was enjoying it, and I got really good at it and thought, fuck, this is something that I can actually really excel in.
What were your friends and family like? Were they supportive of it, or did they know much about it? Or what was, when you had that conversation, you're like, I'm doing this. What was the common response?
Yeah, like people were pretty interested in it because especially where I'm from, the Central Coast, not many kids like fighting at the level I was fighting, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, the common reaction from like your mum, they're pretty scared. They're like your first family's like pretty scared and pretty nervous for you. One of the funniest things like that my dad said to me, I was watching who was it? Diego Sanchez versus Clay Guida. We all remember that fight. And it was just a barn burner of a fight. Absolutely nuts from bell to bell. And I was sitting down watching it with Dad, and Dad was just looked at me and goes, "You couldn't do this, Jamie. You'd take one smack on the mouth and you'd run off crying." And that just fucking triggered something in me, man. I was just like, "Oh, you wait. You fucking wait."
There's you wait, pal.
Yeah, mate. It was the best thing he could have said. Best thing he could have said to me. So it just triggered my little fucking fuck you in me to just go, I'll show you. But it like my family's so supportive, man. My friends and family are like, they're like the reason why I do it. You know, they get me motivated, get me on the days that I want to train. I just think about how many people support me and get behind me. And my family have been like my number one supporters from day one.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to deep dive into next, because every fighter I work with and every fighter that I'm mates with, and we always have this conversation when we're unpacking how they got to where they are today. It seems that there were multiple times they were almost at a crossroads where it was like, okay, I finished high school, everyone's going to university, but I'm going to do, the road less traveled by, and I'm going to do fighting. Or they were, at a job they weren't happy with, and they said, you know what, like, I can't keep doing this. I'm going to just fully commit to fighting. Were there certain times in your life when you were going through that you're at those crossroads and you're like, okay, like, I need to make a call. Am I going to do this full time and be really serious about it? Or do I go back?
Yeah, for sure. Like, there definitely was those times. I always worked while I was training, so it was more. But again, the further I went into working and training, like, it's pretty hard yards. Getting up before work and trying to train, and because I worked as a plumber, so we were, big days on the tools, starting early. And there was times where I was like, "Fuck, do I stick with plumbing or do I go into this full time?" And yeah, man, I think you still like you still get those like questions in your own head because you got so much time to think about it. But you've just got to like think about what you want and go. Fuck, I want to do this, and I think I can. That's where the belief comes in as well.
So you were working as a full-time plumber. So you did your apprenticeship and then you got signed off and you were working full-time and then training a full-time training load as well.
Yeah, pretty much.
How long were you doing that for?
I did that for best part of 7 or 8 years.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And where were you at in your fight career during this stage? Were you professional or were you still an amateur or where were you at?
Nah, so the whole time wasn't like training like a full-time athlete. And the difference between now and then is even still big. Like from when I was like, because I started as an amateur, started my plumbing apprenticeship when I was 17. So I was training like, once a day through my amateur days. And then when I turned pro, I'd be trying to up the training more. So when I turned pro when I was 19, so then I was pretty much training and working, like trying to fit the both in like full time from when I was about like 20 years old or something like that. So that's probably about 6 years of doing that.
All right, so 6 years. So let's talk about like, what is it? You touched on it before with your family and being a big motivation for you and a big drive, but that's a long time. 6-7 years is a long friggin' time. Like people listening, think about how old you are now, minus 6-7 years, and think about what you're doing. Like your life is chalk and cheese, but throughout that whole time, you're pretty much narrowed in on this goal. Was that always the goal? Okay, I want to get to the UFC. I want to do this and I want to get it. What motivated you and kept you going to get to that point?
Yeah, it was tough. Like there's times where you just like, fuck, like do I keep going along it? But I think the thing that motivated me was like how well I was doing, and then all my like people around me in my life that were telling me like you're gonna do it, you're gonna do this, you're gonna make it, and it was always my dream. So I wanted it bad. That was it. I always saw myself fighting in the UFC, which is most fighters' goals.
Did you have like a routine that you had like every day? Like talk us through what it was when you were like working as a plumber full time. Like what was your daily routine for those 6-7 years?
So I would try to get up and do like three of those mornings of the days I was working. I'd try to get up and go like run one day, strength and conditioning, like a little circuit push, and maybe pads or like bag work or something on the third day. So we're talking like they're probably like 4 a.m. workouts. And like I had a mate that I was living with, Kirky, he's like my best mate. So he was getting up doing these workouts with me. Fucking legend, like getting me up and getting me motivated to train. And he didn't have fights coming up. He was just doing it like more for me and with me to give me a hand and help me get going. So then just I would literally get off the freeway from work and just go train, straight to training every day. So they were big days, kind of leaving at 5:30, getting home at like 7. Yeah.
So when you were working, you were still competing. How often were you fighting? How often were you competing?
I was like, no, it wasn't like crazy, but it was when I was pro, I was trying to get about four fights a year. So, but when I say 4 fights a year, like, that's a fair bit of time dedicated. Like I wasn't just taking fights on a week's notice. There would be like a camp behind every one of those fights. So, yeah, like most people know that for a fighter, 4 fights a year is a pretty busy year.
Where was the point where you were like, I'm going to make this and I'm going to do it in UFC? Or where was the point where it was like, the UFC is an attainable goal? Was there like a moment in your pro career where you were like, okay, I can actually make this and I can make that next leap and make it to the big leagues? And I can probably do this and flip my plumbing job and I can do this full time. Was there a moment where it just kind of hit you and that was a reality?
Not really like a certain moment. It's just that belief that you always sort of have, just based on my performances and how I was going. That was just always in my head that I will make it. And probably actually when I went to my first UFC event and I was watching them live, I was like, man, I can fucking do this. Like there's no difference between these guys and me and what I'm doing. Like, so yeah, when I went to my first UFC event, that was a big like sort of belief. It kicked up my self belief,
What about this on the other side of the coin? Were there any times during this process before you got to the UFC where you're just like, man, F this? Like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. This is too hard. Like, what a waste of time. What am I doing? Did you ever have those type of doubts or any big moments where you're like, nah, this isn't for me?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I really had that. Maybe when I ran into Volk, that was I was like, fuck, because I was 9-0 and I fought Alex. We got off the fight and I was like, yeah, I can do it. And like most people were dodging Alex at that stage in the Australian circuit. And it was sort of hats off to both of us from a lot of people because he was 11-1, I was 9-0, and a lot of guys at that sort of when they're on the brink of maybe getting a contract into a big organization, they're trying to keep their record padded. They're picking easy fights. I think you see it less these days because I reckon the talent's so fucking good in Australia at the moment. Yeah, that you sort of can't even do that these days. But so I accepted the fight, and then he handed me my first loss, and that was like hit me pretty hard. So but again, overcoming adversity, it's what literally, as corny as it sounds, like you learn so much from the losses. Like I believe they make you so much stronger. I'm actually like more scared of like I'm less nervous about an undefeated guy in some respects because they haven't overcome that adversity. They haven't dealt with that and like made them like so much stronger.
Is it easier then to come back from a loss? Is it easier to find motivation to get back in the gym and to get back on the wagon after a loss than it is a win?
100%. For me, it like lit a fire under me so much. Not that I like lost the fire, but it just like coming off of a loss, you're so much more not leaving any stone unturned. You know what I mean? You just like really backs against the wall sort of thing. So that was sort of like how I was for that last fight.
Kind of want to unpack it when you do get handed a loss. Like talk about like your first fight like with Brad, and we'll get Brad on and you two to talk about it because I've heard both of you guys talk about it. And especially when we've had like a couple of beers, it's probably the funniest conversation ever. You guys talk, but that was quite possibly one of the best and closest fights I've ever watched. It could have gone either way. And it's probably one of the only fights that I've seen, other than one really strange one in China that wasn't that good, but where you guys literally emptied your gas tanks. You guys had nothing left. You guys emptied, and then you went to the reserve tank and you emptied that, and then you went to some weird place mentally and then emptied whatever you guys had there. Like literally, like you guys were on your hands and knees at the end of the fight, still trying to hit each other. Like crazy stuff. Like how do you get to a place where you can do that? Because watching that, it's not normal. Like normal people watching that won't understand where you've got to go and what you've got to dig through to get to that place. What's it like going there when you're competing, when you're fighting, when you've got to dig deep? Like is something going through your mind, or is it just something that you've just drilled into yourself through training, or what is it?
Yeah, man, I don't think anything's going through your mind when you get to that state. And I've never got to that state before. So like I think it's like that old saying, it takes two to tango. I think like you get lucky when you get a fight like that and an opponent like that, and you've showed up, he's showed up, and both guys' will's so strong that you're not going to let anything stop you. So it's pretty special when you get that, I think. And it was just lucky that both me and Brad, UFC debut, we got the right dance partner, and we just fucking let it all out in there.
Let's talk about that fight. Even before you guys got into the cage, it was the highest selling event in UFC history down in Melbourne. Was it at what was it? Etihad? Was it at Etihad? Where was it? Where did we have that one?
Marvel.
That's right. Marvel Stadium. It was when Israel fought Rob. And then what was that like? What was that experience like, walking out to near on 60,000 fans,
mate,
screaming UFC debut? What's that like?
It was all so fast, man. It was so cool, like, because I got like the way it happened. I got the fight and had 3 weeks to get to prepare or whatever. I was training, like I wasn't like just coming off the couch, so it wasn't like, I'm not trying to use that as an excuse or anything, but the experience all happened so fast, and it was so cool, like going on that card for all them years, like working up to it, then seeing my name, even if it was like on the undercard, just seeing my name up there, up next to Rob Whittaker, Israel Adesanya. It's like, fuck, man, there's like crazy magnitude behind it. And walking out into those people, that was another funny thing that I didn't hear it at the time. I was just zoned in at the time, but you couldn't even see the cage. You could it was just like a wall of people that you had to go through, because it was at Marvel Stadium, such a huge stadium. And I walked past some of the city kickboxing gym. It must have been, I'm guessing, because I just heard like heaps of fucking yelling, and I heard, because my brother was standing behind me filming on his phone, and it shows me going past these people, and you just hear this, "You're gonna die." And I was like, watched it back. I fucking love that. I love that. It's like passion, whether you're with me or against me. I fucking love it. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, the whole experience, man, it's just unreal.
What was it like winding it back to the 3 weeks before you made the walk when you got the call? All of these years, 7 years working as a plumber, training, fighting, balancing life, another 4 years before that, amateur balancing footy and fighting and amateur fights and whatnot. So pretty much like 11 years of work, all up in that moment. You get that phone call when whoever calls you and tells you, or you get the email. Talk us through, like, how did that unfold? How did you find out, and what did it feel like?
Yeah, it was pretty fucking pumped me up, obviously. So Ross pretty much showed me a message from Sean Shelby saying that they were going to go in for a meeting to see if they want to do Brad Riddell versus Jamie Mullarkey. So that was the first little whiff that I got. So then we pumped it up a bit more, and I put up another post like with me and Brad, just saying like, let's fucking make this fight happen, just to give it that little bit more of a push. And then I was working one morning on site, like this is 3 weeks before the fight, and I was working up in Newcastle on this house, and got the call from Ross just saying we're fighting in 3 weeks. And it was just like, it was just the best feeling ever, really. It was literally the best feeling I could get.
What did you do? Like, were there people around you? Did you say, were you jumping? Were you in your own head? Like, did you have to take an early smoker, or what goes on?
Yeah, mate, 100%. It was an early smoker. I was pretty much telling the boss to fuck off. I was like,
I made it.
Yeah, man. I just went, had a pretty much a 20-minute phone call with Ross. And then, just started figuring out what I had to do, and getting my shit ready to go down to Melbourne and punch on.
So you just packed up, like you got the phone call. Did you just hang up and say, "See you boys," like finish the work yourselves and just grab the gym bag?
No, I worked the rest of the day. I worked that day, but I pretty much told my boss. I called my boss and said, "Yeah, mate, I'm fighting in a couple of weeks in the UFC. And he drove out to the site. He was like around, so he drove out to the site and come up and had a chat with us about it. So
I guess let's go through that. So you had that fight with Brad. What happened after? You obviously had that barn burner fight. You've walked away with a performance bonus. Like you said, you lost the fight, but I think there was real no loser in that fight. Like I remember we were watching it. We were obviously working that event down there, and everyone in the room was just looking at each other like their jaws on the floor, like, oh my God, and like saying like, man, when are these guys fighting next? Like, we got to watch these guys again. Like, this is the best thing ever. Like, you don't lose in a fight like that. You would have gained so much fan. What went through your head when you like, obviously afterwards pack down, relax, warm down, whatever, and go out, hang out, family and friend? What goes through your mind after that? Was it like, man, I finally made it, or what's going through your head?
yeah, like it was definitely like you said, that there sort of was no loser. It wasn't the decision I wanted, but like he definitely won the fight in my opinion. But it showed me that I belong there, like, because Brad's a world-class fighter. I fought him and I believed that I could beat him, and we had a cracker of a fight. So that was what it did for me. When the dust settled and kind of like came off that cloud nine feeling, it just like made me so motivated to go again and just go, like, I'm here now. Now it's time to really pull the trigger and give it my all. So that was the first time that I quit my job and started training full time. Literally to the point where I made it to like a platform where I felt like I could do that.
Yeah. There's two things I want to go, but first, while we're just on that topic of your debut, and a lot of people, not just like my UFC athletes that I work with, a lot of them have said this, but a lot of people in every other industry, people in my industry, people in other business and whatever, is this imposter syndrome that people feel when they get to, that whatever that destination is they've been thinking of for years and working towards, they finally get there and they go, shit, do I belong here? Is this, am I ready for this? Did you experience the imposter syndrome when you're getting ready for this fight, or when you're walking out? Did you experience it at all?
Nah, like that was like, I knew I was ready, and that was like my moment where I was like, yeah, like just more so pumped than anything. And then once I had the fight, that just instilled it more that I was ready for it, and I was where I wanted to be, and now it was time to really show what I can do.
Yeah. And I guess another thing that a lot of people talk about is like making the UFC is one thing, but then making a career out of being in the UFC is another thing. And like after that performance, and like you've had 3 awesome fights, like regardless of like the results, they're all awesome fights, and you got the result that you deserve, that last one. What is it that you're doing? Like, what is it? You said you quit your job, you're doing this full time. Like, what is it that you're doing to make sure that you are going to have this long career in the UFC, and you're going to be able to build this platform and, be able to live the rest of your life the way that you want to do it? What are you doing because of that?
Yeah, well, that's exactly it, mate. Like, no, I don't think any fighter sort of feel, oh, I know I don't feel like I've made it, because I'm always pushing to go more. And exactly what you said, making the UFC and staying in the UFC are 2 different things. So yeah, what I'm doing is I'm seeking out the best training that I possibly can, and the people around me, like the people that I have around me, like Ross Pearson, he's ideal because he has lived that life. You know what I mean? He's lived that life, and he can tell me firsthand how the UFC works, what you do expect, and he'd be the first one to sort of pull my head in and say, don't think for a second that you've made it, because we got work to do. So just having the right people around me, and the competition itself, that speaks for itself. That lightweight UFC division, you can't take your foot off the gas. You know what I mean? You've got to be ready to go, because the competition's tough, and I want to be the best. So that's keeping me driven to stay in the UFC, obviously.
You just mentioned it then. you're surrounding yourself with these people, right? And whether people know it or not, like you've gone down and you've trained with Volk and you've put in, like, you've immersed yourself in that training environment, and we'll get Volk on, we'll talk about him, whatever. But like that training environment is intense. Like I work with lots of gyms, pretty much all the gyms across Australia and New Zealand. And there's a real disparity, not disparity, but real difference between training intensities. That's very obvious. And freestyle fighting, and same with like city kickboxing, that training environment that they're in is full on. Like it's full on, like where like sports scientists have argued with me, oh, these guys are overtraining, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, well, yeah, maybe, but like, look at the results that they're getting. So maybe we need to shift our perspective of what that is, and, you know, within the sport, blah, blah, blah. How important has that been for you? How important has that been, immersing yourself in that training environment, putting yourself around people like Volk, around Joe, around the other guys? And what has that done for you as an athlete, do you think?
Yeah, it's been great. Like I think that you have to train with other people in general to expand, like to make yourself better, to expand your knowledge of the sport, to see other ways of training. Because if you stay just doing the same thing over and over and over, I think you become a little bit stagnant with your training, with things you're doing. So it's a big learning curve, and you also have, I think, touching on that, like it's everyone trains hard, right? Like everyone, we all do that. But then training with the right people, like that are motivated with you, that are not going to be dicks and fucking try and hurt you, inspiring. So like what Volk did was, for his first fight with Max, his first defense against Max, he got a crew of us, and with the pandemic, he wasn't able to leave his gym, and I think usually he goes and trains with the city kickboxing boys, so he couldn't leave, and he got a crew of us together, and it was like the perfect like sort of crew of Australian fighters. We had like, I'll probably miss names, I don't know, but we had like myself, Josh Coolabout, Blake Donnelly, Trent Gurdon, Brenton Mumford, Alan Philpott, Colby Thickness, just a murderous little row of fighters from around Australia, and Volk brought them all to him. So, and then we all just trained hard on the same path, great sparring partners, no dickheads in the group. So we all just put our heads down, and that environment sort of helped so much, just having the right guys around you, and just getting in good training.
For sure, man. That's awesome. It's crazy. That whole thing, when you guys set that up, was so cool to see from the outside, because it's funny. Boxing's very much like that in Australia. I find it's very cliquey, and everyone kind of stands like in their own little corner, and it's like they never integrate and cross train with each other. Whereas like MMA, I think you guys proved that it's like, it's more of a Australia versus, you know, the world type thing when you guys did that, even though, you guys, there's guys there that could potentially compete. Like you got Josh and Volk, who are both in the featherweight division, right? Like you got yourself, you got Mumford, you got Blake, who are all lightweight. So it's like, but you guys all come together. And I remember when I went down and saw that, I remember talking to Joe about it, going like, holy crap, this is insane. Like, this is what Australian MMA needs. Like, this is the most elite guys in Australia all pushing each other. Like, this is scary. Like, it's scary what this is going to do for every single one of these fighters. And you saw that, man. You saw how you guys just elevated each other.
Yeah, 100%. And that's hats off to Volko. I said it to him, like he made that all happen, because I'd never really trained with. I've got like Josh. Cody Freeman was another one that was there with us, high level guy. So I had like a few different guys that I trained with. Like I'd go to them, or they'd come to my gym to help each other out. Because at this level, it's what you got to do, right? Like you got to seek the best training possible. And then Volk, by doing what he did, and he brought everyone in this little circle, and it was in a crazy time too. It was in COVID, so most gyms weren't even able to train at that point. but Alex got an exemption from the Australian government for us to legally train, where we had to get COVID tested, and so it was pretty crazy. And in that time, like, it was funny how in the time where not many gyms could train, we had the best
The best train.
possible camp. It was crazy. And exactly what you said. You see how much it elevated everyone, like learning off each other, pushing each other. There was not one easy round. So I think it was like an eye opener. That's kind of what you have to do at this level. And I think all the boys that were in that camp were all like mature enough. There's no egos to be like, oh, like, I'm against this guy, I'm against this guy. Like, we all kind of put that behind it and went, like, let's all fucking train and help each other. And if even some of the lads got matched up against each other, they'd be like, yeah, cool, we'll fucking fight. Who cares? We're helping each other anyway. We're getting better. So that's what that did for us, I reckon. And it just showed us how much better it can get when you just push that shit aside and just train with each other.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I want to finish this podcast with, I'm going to say 5 rapid fire questions that I want to give you. But before we get into that, what's next? What's next for the Hooligan? What do you got planned? Obviously, like we were talking about at the start, it's a weird time with COVID, taking corners everywhere. What's next? What do you want to do? Do you want to get back home, like slowly get back into training? Are you training now in the hotel? When do you want to fight next? What's next?
Yeah, what's next? I reckon I will get home and, man, I'm ready to go straight away again. I think I've got like some lost time to make up for. So I want to get my hands a little bit. I had a bit of a injury sort of coming in, and it sort of hurt more in the fight. So I'll get that fixed up, and when I'm healthy and good to go, like we were just saying, this is my job now. So I'm ready to answer the call and go again as soon as possible. I'd love to be fighting sort of June, July again, if I can. That's what's next, and I'll fight anyone they give me.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, June, July, International Fight Week, right? Like it's always a big time for the UFC. So very, very high possibility that'll happen. Let's get into these rapid fire questions. So the Hooligan, let's fire them off. Favorite UFC fighter of all time?
Forrest Griffin.
Forrest Griffin. Did you meet Forrest when you've met Forrest when you were at the PIA?
Nah, I didn't.
Oh, you haven't met? Man, I was actually on a podcast and someone asked me, they were like, who's the coolest person, like the coolest person that you've met? And I said Forrest, because I had this whole idea of Forrest beforehand, like watching The Ultimate Fighter, and he was the only guy that I was like kind of nervous to meet. And then when I met him, I was like, man, this guy's the coolest dude, and he's like hella funny too. But he's such a presence about him when you meet him. Hey, you're like, even if you didn't know that was Forrest Griffin, you'd know it was Forrest Griffin just because of the aura that he has about him. But yeah, that's awesome. Favorite quote that you live by?
Fail to prepare, then prepare to fail.
Oh, that's a good one. Most influential person that you have in your life?
Noel Magnus, my coach. He's been there from day one, and he just kills life. The best thing about Noel Magnus is he doesn't produce good fighters. He produces good men.
That's awesome. What influence do you reckon that's had on you coming up? Like, do you think you'd be on a different trajectory, if Noah wasn't your coach all those years ago when you came through as a little shit-kicking teenager?
Yeah, man, 100%. He's had every influence, not just what's the biggest influence. He's had every influence and just guided me through all those years that we were talking about, where I'm a teenager working, training. He guided me through all that, like every step of the way. So it would be a very different outcome if I didn't have him from day one.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next one. What's the first thing you do after you finish a fight? You've just come off 8 weeks camp. You've been dieting. You've been cutting weight. You just jumped in the cage, punched on with someone. What's the first thing you want to do after you finish fighting?
A schooner or two is new with the boys.
That's awesome. Or a few whiskeys in Vegas, hey Jamie.
Yeah, boy.
All right, very last question. advice for young fighters who want to make it.
That's it's a good one, because my first advice to people training, and like, enjoy your training. Because if you're not enjoying your training, then what are you doing it for? Like, that's my first advice. You should be like having fun with what you're doing. And my second advice, like, because I've just kind of like thought about this a lot with up and comers. Like, in this day and age, it's all about social media and shit. Put down your fucking phone and just train. That's some of my advice. Like, you'd agree. Like, you don't. I'm not a social media kind of guy. I've gotten better at it. Like, I'm doing more posts and all that shit. But I just think that young guys are getting a little bit too caught up in doing a selfie every single session of the day. Like, no one cares. You don't have to do a post a day about your training and hashtags and all that shit. Just fucking focus on your craft. Darren Till said it best. He said, focus on your craft, and then the rest will come. So
Yeah, no,
that's my little rant. How's that little rant, eh? Just having a little rant about all
just
this.
putting people on the spot. Hey, just there's a few guys right now on their phones, just putting their phones down, listening to this, going, "Oh man, Jamie just said that." But Jamie, I appreciate you coming on, man, because the reason I wanted to start this podcast and do this is because what people don't understand, and I think, like, when people, exactly what you just said, people see social media and they see that side of it, but they don't see the work. And I think being, as close to you guys as I am, and having the relationship that we do have, I get to see it. I get to see it firsthand, what you guys go through, what you put yourself in, and more importantly, what you guys sacrifice to make that walk into the cage, and everything that you guys do. And it's difficult for me not to be motivated. It's difficult for me not to want to do better. And it's difficult for me not to want to be the best in my business or the best at what I do when I'm hanging around people like you guys all the time. And that's what I want to get across with this podcast, is let people see that side and let that get out, and hopefully they take a bit of inspiration. And that's the whole thing, is like unraveling high performance for you. And I think what I got most out of that chat is there's probably 5 things that Jamie Mullarkey does for high performance. And that's a huge level of self-belief, huge level of self-belief in yourself. You visualize where you want to be, and you've done that since you were 14, 15, always challenging yourself, never shy away. And I think your first 3 fights in the UFC, I think no one can question that. You've put yourself up the highest against a challenge, highest caliber of challenge rather. Have good role models in your life, like you have with Noah since you were a young guy coming up through, and then having Ross Pearson, and then again putting yourself in that situation with Volkanovski and the freestyle fighting guys where you've done that. And then most importantly, put your phone down and do the work, get the work done. Yeah, spot on. Well, Jamie, thanks so much for coming on, bro. I would say I know you're a busy guy and you got lots of time, but you and I right now got nothing but time. So maybe we'll do another one of these before we get out of quarantine. But Jamie, any last words before we let you go?
Nah, just thanks for having us on. Thanks for everyone that believes in me, and let's go again.
Yeah, for sure. Now, lastly, before I do let you go, people listening here, they'll go, "Oh man, Jamie's a cool dude. I want to follow him. I want to make sure I don't miss anything that he does." Can you give us a yell where they can follow you on socials? How they can get, if they say, "Oh man, I want to, get in contact with Jamie." Is there a way they can get in contact with you, follow you on socials? Give us the spiel.
Yeah, Instagram, Jamie_Mullarkey. Follow me on there and keep up to date with what I'm doing. And if you want to flick us a message, I'll try to get back to you. And that's where I'm at. I'm not a big on social media, so I'm not like chances are I'll probably be a boring cunt to follow, and but that's what it is. So that's where I'm at.
Quite the opposite, I reckon, Jamie. Not boring in the slightest. But all right, man, I'm going to call this one here. But thank you so much, man, for taking the time. And I'm sure there's so many good lessons that guys will get out of this just from listening to this. So thanks so much, bro.
Legend, Jordy. Cheers, bro.
And there it is, the very first episode of the Trainade Performance Podcast. I hope you guys got some good information out of that. It always motivates me talking to these guys, hearing their story, hearing about what they do every single day to make sure they are chasing down their dream. Be sure to tune into our next episode when we get yet another high performer on to talk about what they do every single day to make sure they are the best at what they do. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you guys for the next episode of the Trainade Performance Podcast.